we ready? Well, let us take this joyful noise and turn it into song. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing number 389 in the Gray Hymnal, Gathered Here.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Veysel Dokur, and I use pronouns he, him. I serve this congregation as trustee and membership chair, and today as worship associate. Today's opening words are entitled The Day Unwritten by Reverend David Braden. Welcome to a new story. Welcome to a day unwritten. We gather to speak of possibility. We remember the losses. We celebrate the victories. We embrace the possible, over than the probable, weaving a story of hope. Join us in the new story. Join us in the day unwritten. Join us in the future of possibility. Welcome to this Unitarian Universalist sanctuary, where you can be all of who you are, and where the story of who you are and who you strive to be will be welcomed and affirmed.
Thank you, Veysel. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Heather Normie. I'm the Spiritual Life Director for this very joyful congregation. And I just want to invite you to connect with us in some upcoming events, because of course our mission statement is love plus connection equals transformation. So we ask you to be a part of that. This Wednesday at 5 p.m. right here in the sanctuary, we will have our worship committee meeting. This is where you can come and share ideas that you have about our worship services and what you would like to see in upcoming worship services and Wednesday night programming. Speaking of, we do have a Wednesday night program this Wednesday at 6:30 here in the sanctuary. We call it dinner worship. I make rice. People bring things to put on top of that rice, and we share. I also ask that you bring your own dishes and utensils and beverages. Just makes cleanup a little bit easier. And we say that at dinner worship, the conversation is the sermon. And so we will be talking about the practice of story, and I will focus that conversation on something about the practice of story, and we will join in fellowship and deepen the meaning of our theme for the month. And then, Friday, January 24th at 7 p.m. here in UUCL, there will be a Twisted Pine concert. Twisted Pine is a progressive bluegrass band that NPR dubbed a band to watch. And so they are going to be here, and this is a fundraiser for UUCL. And I would say go ahead and go online and get your tickets now. I think you can find it on our Facebook page and also in our newsletter. We are also doing a brick fundraiser. So Gail, who is our usher today, has information about the brick front fundraiser. So you can see her if you want to buy a brick with your name on it for our front walkway. I would also like to say thank you to the 15 people who showed up to our social justice meeting last week. Thank you. Good work. We did good work. Sherry is very excited. I'm very excited. And we're looking forward to all the ways that we can make the world a better place together. Today, after the service, is a potluck, and you are welcome to join, whether you brought something or not. It's a great way to sit and get to know one another. And then after that, we have a board meeting. I know, woo! So come on in and join the board meeting to find out what is going on around here. I should say, you can observe the board meeting. The board has the meeting, you get to observe it. I know, that's exciting. Okay. And then next weekend's worship service will be about MLK, and I am creating it with Isaiah and Nikki. So it should be exciting and interesting and engaging. And then after that, we have a town hall in which we will continue to work on our vision statement, right? So, of course, a vision statement isn't really a vision statement if it doesn't include everybody. So please plan on joining us next week after the town hall. Helen wants to start a book club with the UUA's Common Read called Authentic Selves, celebrating trans and non-binary people and their families. So you can, she's going to put it in the newsletter, but you can go to our UUCL store on bookshop.org and buy the book, and then that becomes sort of a fundraiser for us. And then you can join in the small group that will be reading and exploring this book with Helen. Okay, more info in the newsletter. And finally, our big upcoming event is this Saturday. We're marching in the MLK parade, as we always do. This year, we're marching alongside some other folks from the Interfaith Coalition of Polk County. So that's very exciting. But we're still going to show up in our yellow t-shirts. If you don't have one and you want to march, I have them in the social hall so you can purchase one. If you can't purchase one, you can have one donated to you, so please just see me. And the kids are going to make signs today. And we're going to do some other fun stuff, I think. We're going to show up. We might sing. We might drum. We'll see. And that is this Saturday. The parade begins at 1 p.m., but we meet earlier. You got to find a place to park, I'm pretty sure. So it seems like you're kind of hanging out. Yes, Helen?
If you're there at noon, you're too late.
You're too late. Okay, be there before noon.
10 would be really good.
10?
Yeah, they will direct you away from the places that you can park.
10, 11-ish? Okay.
I mean, if you don't mind walking a bit, which is what we did last year,
You can show up later if you want to park further and walk more. So we usually meet, I think it's off of West 14th Street and Kathleen Road. There's a big parking lot there, and that's where everybody parks and meets and hangs out, you know, bring something to drink and some food and entertainment. We'll hang out together, and we'll get to know one another and people from the Interfaith Coalition.
I have waivers. Everybody who plans on walking in the parade, plus their children, all need to have waivers. I have the waivers, so please come see me.
Please see Jen for a waiver.
Plan on walking and haven't signed a waiver yet.
Thank you. Well, today we are welcoming new members, and so I thank all of you for joining us as we welcome them in and continue to write our congregational story. Please be sure to check the e-newsletter that comes out on Mondays, and if you want to receive it, you can put your email out on the book out front to find out all the things that are going on around here. So let us create our sacred space by lighting our chalice.
Tom Mead, would you please do the honor of lighting our chalice while I read these words by Reverend Scott Taylor. In the soft light of this flame, may our lives shimmer anew. May we notice new possibility in those relationships that seem lost. May the turning of year give birth to a dream. May the emerging light pull a new story into view. May what it is give way to what might be. May we believe again that there is a tale of the world still waiting to be written. Please rise in body or spirit and let us sing hymn number 123, Spirit of Life.
This is the time of our service when we invite the children to come forward. Come on up. Is it walkie-talkie? Kind of, sort of. Push that button again. It's okay, Melissa, you can step up and just speak near this mic.
Oh, yeah. It's gonna be loud. Everybody come here. No.
All right, here we go. So instead of a story today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to have a special ritual called the new member ceremony. Do you guys remember the new ceremony last year?
No.
Yeah? Some of us do and some of us don't. I know, when Heather said, we're going to change it a little bit, I was like, well, I don't remember what it was like last year, so it's okay. Some of us remember, right? Some don't. Okay, so who became members last year at the new member ceremony? Not last year, but last time. That's right. Yes, exactly right. Your families. So you guys became part of our congregation. Do you remember being up here, Presley? You had to stand up here a long time. Yeah. So what does it mean to become a member? Do you know what it is when you're a member of something? Yeah, you're part of it. The people who make up a group. And a friend of it. Yeah. So we have like lots of different kinds of groups, right? Like school. You're a member of a class at school, right? What's your teacher's name?
Miss Menendez.
Miss Menendez? So when somebody says, Miss Menendez class, Line up by the door. Melendez? Melendez, okay. So if they say Miss Smith's class, line up at the door, does that mean you?
No.
No, because you're not a member. But if we say Miss Melendez's class, line up, you stand up, exactly right. So what are some other things you guys are members of?
Home.
Home, family, member of a family.
Boy Scouts.
Scouts, yes, perfect. You're a
Hunting.
member of a group.
Hunting.
Hunting is an activity, right?
Camping.
Camping, those are activities, those are scouting activities, right? Okay, so what about RE? Are you a member of RE? You're part of our group. We say RE kids, does that mean you?
PE.
Yep. PE is a class. So the kids in the class might be a group, right? And you'd be a member of that. Okay, so now we're going to think about something a little different. What makes people members? Because just because you go somewhere doesn't mean you're a member. Did you know that? So groups have people who are part of the group, they make up the group, like your family, right? You're a member of the Steele family, and if I come to visit your house, oops, in this mic, if I come to visit your house, does that make me part of your family? No, I'm a guest, right? I'm somebody else. Okay, so at the church here, we have members and we have visitors, and anybody can come be our guest, but that doesn't make them a member. So what we're doing today is something special. It's making people who become members. Members agree to support the congregation by doing activities. Members help out with the work that needs to be done, and members give money to help pay for the things that we need, like chairs and art supplies. So now Heather's going to tell us how people get to be members here. There's certain things people need to do first, and she'll explain what those are.
Well, first of all, time and their talent and their treasure, but also what it really means to be a Unitarian Universalist is to know that we are bound together by covenant. Covenant, what's a covenant? What is it? Promises. Covenant is like promises we make to one another. It's about how we want to be together to make the world a better place. And what we want to do, yes, and what we aspire to as well. And we center ourselves in love and we say, you know what would make this world better, what would make this community better is if we did this thing. And we work together. That's right. Thank you, Presley. Sometimes our kids know more than we do. It's true. So then once you do all that, then you get to sign our very special membership book. This is the same membership book that has been here since 1955. 55? That's before even I was born.
That's before I was
Oh
born.
my gosh. So, and we're getting to the end of it. Woo. So that's exciting.
What happens when you get to the end of it?
I don't know. I don't know. Superheroes. Well, Melissa, back to you.
All right. So we only do the new member ceremony a couple of times each year. So it's special for us, and it's a special time for the people who are becoming new members. The kids have a part in this ceremony. Do you remember what it is? I'm not surprised. No, actually, it's just a thing you say. So there's different parts where different people are asked to welcome the new members and say, we will. And so there's a part where I'm going to ask the kids to stand. We say rise in body or spirit. Basically, that means stand if you can, right? And then I'm going to ask, will you welcome members? And I want you all to say loud and clear, we will. And it will be very obvious where this part is because I kind of say those words again. Just giving you a heads up, that's what we're gonna do. That's our role, it's our. And now Faisal is gonna start the ceremony, and at the end of it, there's a song, and then we'll put our stones in the water and go to RE.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, everyone. And this year, our starting point session started with a great group of people, but unfortunately, we had back-to-back hurricanes that impacted a lot of people's lives, not in Florida, other states also. But with all that, two of our new members, I'm proud to say, Sherry Kent and Isaiah Harana, were able to finish the sessions, and I would like to invite them to the stage and introduce, to welcome them as new members. And first, they'll introduce themselves to us. Sherry Kent and Isaiah, if you would please come. Good, Sherry, let's start with you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Well, who am I? My name is Sherry Kent. My pronouns are she and her. And I just wrote a little bit to tell you about myself. I grew up in a military family. My dad was in the Air Force and the Army. My stepdad was in the National Guard. My uncle was in the Navy for 20 years and retired from that. And my brother was in Marine Recon. Basically, he told me he enlisted while he was tripping. Because if you knew him, you'd know he's just all about love and acceptance and peace. But he stayed in to prove something to himself and probably to the rest of our family. My dad was actually in Thailand during the Vietnam War when my mom, who's here today, was pregnant the whole time with me. And then I got sick when I was about 3 months old and was hospitalized. And I still hadn't met my dad yet. And apparently they let him out to come home to meet me, just in case I didn't make it. And I did. And that was my very first successful war protest when I was 3 months old. About my brother, he was a trained Marine Recon, but when they were getting ready to send him off to potentially hurt someone, he went AWOL, but that's a story for another day. I'm very proud of him, and he was one of my heroes. He's unfortunately passed, as have all those men, but because of them and my mom, I grew up believing in America and the American dream and the Constitution and the value of service. We were mostly stationed in the Southeast at different military bases, and we moved every couple of years. But once I was able to decide where I wanted to live, I moved to California, where I have lived on and off, mostly on for the past 30 years. And that was one of the best decisions of my life, giving me a different perspective. Very different from Central Florida, for sure. Not different from UUCL, though, I'm proud to say. I'm a granddaughter, a daughter, a niece, a sister, an aunt, cousin, ex-wife, friend, kitty mama, and social justice warrior. I'm crazy about animals and the planet, and I have loved to read since I could read. I was not raised religiously, but typically in that we would go to church on Christmas Eve and Easter Sunday. And about 8 years old, I asked my mom and stepdad if we were hypocrites, which is a big word for an 8-year-old. Thank you, books. But to their credit, they considered this, and we stopped going. From then on, I was free to choose for myself. And in my spiritual journey, I have visited, listened, participated in many types of churches and faiths, many Christian denominations, Baptist, Methodist, Episcopal, Presbyterian, etc. I've tried on the Catholic faith to see if it would fit. I've meditated with Buddhists and Sikhs. I've done Bible studies with Jehovah's Witnesses, celebrated a few Jewish events, prayed with Muslims in their mosque, lived in an intentional community for a short while, just AKA hippie community in California. But I took what I learned and experienced and kept that with me, the truths of that with me. So I like to call myself a truth seeker. I kept reading and learning and exploring, and eventually I found Unitarian Universalists in Santa Barbara. But I had an hour commute one way, and I was already commuting 2 hours a day for my work, so it was difficult participating or attending. And that's why I was so excited to discover when I moved to Lakeland that there was a UU right here. And I'm really honored to be becoming a member of this congregation. But even so, Jimmy Buffett will always be my guru. I'm a proud alumni of Antioch University, Santa Barbara. It's a private, very progressive liberal college in Santa Barbara. The locals call it the hippie college. Their core values are my core values, and they're these core values, which is why I feel like I'm home here at UUC. My mom and I moved from the central coast of California to the Fort Lauderdale area in August of 2022. Hated it. Then we moved here to Lakeland because my sister accepted a position at the Lakeland Regional as a psychiatrist. We moved here at the end of April 2024, so we've been here about 8 months. In many ways, Lakeland reminds me of my home in Santa Barbara, and that's a good thing. And I look forward to getting to know you all more as we serve together. Thank you. That's a little bit from me.
All right, I got a bunch of caffeine in me right now, all right? So, good morning, UUCL. Good morning, everyone. My name is Isaiah Harana. My pronouns is he, him, or they, them, depending how I feel, but either way. I am the music director of this beautiful congregation. It's been awesome worshiping and having fellowship among you all the past year. Before I receive my flower today, I just want to give Heather, the music program, and everybody who co-creates with us their flowers today. Please clap for them. Please clap for them. Yes. Thank you. I speak for me, myself only, but after leaving the church at a young age, I felt a God-sized hole in my heart. I had phases of being an arrogant atheist, becoming born again, and then becoming altogether agnostic. Or so I thought. I would say that I'm agnostic on paper, but I believe in something. It's like magic. You can't see it, but it's there and it's real. I would say music is my religion. What does it mean when I say music is my religion? To be honest, I don't know. I'm still working that part out, guys. However, music's power cannot be understated. I understand the sentiment when people say that music doesn't make people violent or aggressive, but that doesn't quite tell the whole story, I feel. The reasons for some music being intense comes from a real place. However, what you consume is a reflection of your thoughts and patterns, for better or for worse. Music can move you to an emotional state or even start revolution. The theme of this month is the practice of story, and music has always been on the forefront of that. Many weeks ago, we presented the song, The Epic of Gilgamesh. It's an ancient song that talks about ancient times relative to them. This music was played and listened to by people before us, all with their own journeys and their own stories, connecting past to present. So much so that a white guy by the name of Peter Pringle performed it on YouTube for all of us to hear. Peter Pringle. That's funny, man. Music's a wonderful thing. Last week, Nikki, also clap for Nikki. She's awesome. Gotta give her flowers too, guys. Last week, Nikki talked about radical listening. She said that the other side to finding our voice is listening to other voices. When having a discussion or an argument with someone, or what I like to call a jam sesh, it must not be one-sided. Listen to the other side to bring about understanding and cooperation. Sometimes we want the other person to shut up so we can finally say what we have to say. But that's not radical listening at all. It works the exact same way in music. When John Coltrane was in the Miles Davis Quintet, he couldn't stop soloing. He couldn't stop riffing it. He was just going off, man. And after the gig, John told Miles, I couldn't stop. And Miles said in response, I have to Christian curse. Miles said in response, you try taking the freaking horn out your mouth. This is usually for guitarists or sax players. The point is, we don't have to play all the time. Space and silence is just as important as playing. We have to listen to each other. In today's current climate, whether you're online, at school, an institution, or even here in this congregation, we may lack communication and be in echo chambers. When you're in an echo chamber, you always hear the same genre, the one side of the story. After you're around someone for so long, you start to even sound like them. For better or for worse, maybe even you have the same rehearsed talking points, or what I like to call in music a lick. Heck, it may sound sweet to the ear, but if there's no cohesion, then it may sound out of place. Jimi Hendrix once said, I've been imitated so well, I've heard people copy my mistakes. It's funny how that works, right? There's nothing wrong with playing the same music all the time, but in my view, in order for radical listening to work, we must be open-minded to the possibilities. Music is a spectrum, like how people are a spectrum. This is how we could create harmonious music. And there is a poem in the liner notes from one of my favorite albums by John Coltrane, who I think eventually started to listen a little more. He also beat his heroin addiction, too, at the time. And there's an excerpt in that poem that says, I quote, "Blessed be his name, thought waves, heat waves, all vibrations, all paths lead to God. Thank you, God." This was a universalist view of religion/faith, one that I can get behind because I think we can all agree that we are all on different spiritual paths. I think our paths will become clearer when they are intersected by other journeys. We can find our voice by listening to other voices. And if you listen real carefully to a really good a cappella group, when multiple voices are joined in harmony, you may find another voice that will reveal itself to you. I'll leave everybody with this quote by the great Quincy Jones, who passed on last year. I learned, and I quote, "I learned real early why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, because you're supposed to listen as twice as much as you talk." Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for listening.
I would like to invite Ken, our chair of Board of Trustees, while Petra presents them now or later.
After they sign the book.
We at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation welcome you as new members of our beloved community this morning. You have come to worship, play, work, and grow among us. Ours is a free fellowship. We have no creeds, and you are free to bring your ideas and beliefs to this fellowship to share with others. I invite you to join us in the religious search for meaning and purpose in life, informed by our individual beliefs and the traditions of Unitarian Universalism.
If you could come up and sign the book for us, then Petra will be present you.
Oh, there's a
we
pen
didn't
right
have
there. It's the official signing. Go ahead and sign, we'll fill the rest later.
Yes. Come over this way. Petra has a book and a flower for you.
Thank you.
On your side.
official. I walked into the store and I saw those sunflowers. I said, those are for Sherry and Isaiah. Yeah. You have signed our membership book, and now I invite you to celebrate that commitment with us. In this gathering and in future worship together, we lift up our voices in shared song. We bring ourselves before the holy in silence and in speech. We search together for meaning and truth in life, and we share the joys and sorrows of our lives with one another. Joining the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Lakeland means being part of this gathered community, speaking out on the future of our congregation, offering and receiving the gifts of the Spirit, supporting others and being supported in return, and working towards our mission of love plus connection equals transformation. Sherry and Isaiah, if you will join us in this mission and work, please say, I will.
I will.
Thank you. And now, all right, it's your part. Are you ready?
All right, we ask the children in you to rise in body or spirit. Would all of you please welcome our new members into your fellowship of play, growth, learning, and love. If you will do this, say loud and clear, we will.
We will.
Awesome.
Will the members of the congregation please rise and read the words that you received on your paper today? We receive you with open hands and hearts. As you join us, we once again renew our own commitment to this religious community. We are proud and happy to have you among us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let us read our congregational covenant, which is also on your paper, and make a promise to each other about how we will be together. We, the people of the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lakeland, in our effort to promote the true spirit of our guiding principles, hereby commit our lives and resources with the following covenants. I will, with patience and understanding, treat all others with kindness and respect. I will be sensitive to the needs of others, treat them with civility, and honor their confidentiality. I will promote a harmonious spirit and a truly welcoming congregation by my personal caring and positive attitude. I will promote democracy by speaking with candor, respecting the right to dissent, seeking consensus, and honoring the will of the majority. I will seek to possess an open mind and a respect for views different from my own. I will support our congregation by volunteering my time and fulfilling my commitments. Wonderful. And now on the back of that paper is our fun little song, adapted by our, I still call her a member. She's in Michigan, but Barbara Wallace made us this little song. Are we ready? We're ready. Oh, we're ready. Okay. Consider yourself, you. Consider yourself one of the members here. We've taken to you so strong. It's clear we're going to get along. When you came and you didn't know just who we were. These you folks, but look. Thank you. You may be seated. And you all may, children, you may put a stone in before you go out to Ari, okay?
Yep, I love myself. Oh, I love mommy.
All right. And we can sing. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the love of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Thank you. Let's take a moment to just pause, breathe, and light our healing candle. Jen, would you please light our healing candle? Spirit of life and love, as we light this healing candle today, not knowing what may need to be healed tomorrow and the days ahead, we call upon you to be with us and keep us strong as we commit ourselves to the shared values of our faith, and as we endeavor to keep them alive and flowing and flourishing in this world despite the chaos that persists around us. We are especially aware of the fires in California that are destroying homes, communities, and the lives of sacred beings. Spirit of life and love, while we are together here today, let us offer healing to one another so that we may do together what we cannot do alone. Amen. There's always a story. It's all stories, really. The sun coming up every day is a story. Everything's got a story in it. Change the story, change the world. Our ritual of the sharing of joys, concerns, and sorrows embodies the belief that there is power in weaving our stories together, binding our strings of love and hope and joy and making them stronger. In our Joys and Sorrows book, you are able to write any significant joy or sorrow occurring in your life that you would like for the congregation to know. Today, Vaisel writes that he is very joyful because of the new member ceremony. Me too. Me too. I'd just like to take a moment to say that I guess I've been struggling a little bit lately with some, well, as you might know, my brother passed away at Thanksgiving. He was only 45. He struggled with addiction. And then, of course, there's this whole fentanyl crisis on the streets. So, unfortunately, his body couldn't handle that anymore. And then I found out this last week that somebody I went to high school with and hung out with passed away also from an opioid addiction and the fentanyl crisis. So it's really weighing on me, and it's sort of like this, I want to do something about it, and then I kind of just turn into the, go back into the grave, and so I'm sort of like here and then I'm there. So if I'm a little scattered, that would be why. So I want to change the story of addiction in this country. Criminals, we criminalize it, and addicts are not criminals, and that's the story we need to change, because I think it affects all of us. I think we all know somebody who's been through this, so thank you. So I invite you now to come forward for our ritual of joys and sorrows. You may take whichever stone or stones feels right to you and drop it in the bowl, connecting to others, feeling the power of being together in this community. Thank you. Pedro will put stones in for those who are joining us on Zoom and our streaming platforms. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Peter. Here we gather, tucked back in this friendly neighborhood between the beautiful tall pines. We are a community of people who have arrived from many different paths, yet we seek a common goal, to bring more love to a hurting but beautiful world. As Unitarian Universalists, we aspire to reach this goal through our shared values, one of which is the value of generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationship of interdependence and mutuality. This we can only do together, and your monetary gifts are essential to supporting our endeavor. Our ushers will now pass the plate. Please contribute generously. Thank you. Thank you all for your generosity. Reading Through the Rose Window by the Unitarian Universalist minister John F. Hayward. A religious community is not a commonwealth of perfection, a congregation of genius. We are all small vessels of life, rather shabby at times broken. It is our human dignity and also the glory of God that from such a variety of broken vessels there can arise a marvelous and ever-changing harmony, an unending procession of song and artifact, word and ritual, thought and gesture. Ancient people delighted themselves with the thought that the stars of heaven made music. People today can listen on pleasant spring evenings to the singings of the frogs in their muddy swamps or the cry of the lone birds in their deserts. Each person dwells midway between earth and sky. Their music is earthbound and heavenly. They carry within themselves the mystery of creation. And in giving voice to the mystery, they may tell themselves and others that all the music of earth and sky are one. The voices of frogs, birds, stars, and human beings belong to one chorus whose spirit and creator transcends and includes them all. Let us sing this into being now with our hymn number 318. We would be one. Please rise in body or spirit.
In the gray hymnal.
Thank
Stories. I love stories. Do you love stories? Yes. Oh, good. Because I've had some people tell me that stories are just for children. And when I went to graduate school, we learned that they weren't. We learned from Native American author Thomas King that the truth about stories is that that's all we are. Each of us has a life story. It is joined in the chorus of other life stories. And together, those stories tell about the world and even this universe. As Ursula K. Le Guin said, there have been great societies that did not use the wheel, but there have been no societies that did not tell stories. And we tell our stories to one another over and over again, and they evolve as we listen to ourselves and adjust our stories with new realizations. It is important that stories speak the truth. This is why we are naming here this month that the practice of story is a spiritual practice. Every time we tell our story, we are tapping into the power that we have to recreate ourselves and join in the co-created chorus of stories that build a nobler world. Retelling a story happens not by telling untruths, like that bad thing happened to me was actually good for me because I learned a lesson, or that's just how it was. But by digging deeper and finding more truths, like that bad thing happened to me and now I need to take the time to heal, and I need others to help me with that process. And perhaps I can even begin to understand why that bad thing happened and do something to change those circumstances to assist in nurturing a better future for us all. Each time we tell our story, and each time we listen to others tell their story, we have the opportunity to take on a different perspective, unveiling new meaning by examining the story's fabric, gaining a more nuanced understanding of this condition we call being human, and discovering the hidden values that are woven in but not yet spoken. And from there, we can intentionally write stories for our futures that embrace more love. We can live love through the practice of story. We can be bold and write visionary stories about the kind of future we want to create, one that invites forgiveness and hope and includes the values we covenant to live in the world. Perhaps this was the goal of Gregory Maguire when he wrote the book Wicked, which has, since its publication in 1995, been turned into the fourth longest-running Broadway musical of all time and is currently a very popular film. Have you seen it? Yeah. Wicked is the retelling of a classic and beloved story, The Wizard of Oz. Have you seen that? Oh, yes, many of us grew up with that story. I looked forward to watching it on my grandparents' large television set each Thanksgiving, excited with anticipation as the black and white screen turned to color. And I could temporarily be transported to Munchkin Land to celebrate the triumph of good over evil by singing, "Song, the witch is dead." She's dead. Dang, they killed her, y'all. And her sister. And they celebrated it. That seems a little harsh, if not completely against our values. But we just knew that the Wicked Witch of the West, she's dead. Dang, they killed her, y'all. And her sister. And they celebrated it. That seems a little harsh, if not completely against our values. But we just knew that the Wicked Witch of the West was very, very bad, right? I mean, she stole Toto, and she really had it out for sweet, innocent Dorothy, who just wanted to be somewhere over the rainbow where her troubles would melt like lemon drops. What a dreamer. But did we really know the whole story? Maybe not. And this is where McGuire's Wicked challenges our frameworks of knowing. You see, our certainty here in Western culture that someone is either good or evil is undergirded by stories, many of them biblical. Stories build societies. So while there are many interpretations of the stories that built Western civilization, some of the dominant themes and theologies drawn out of those stories that pervade our culture have been harmful. These themes and theologies have been re-emphasized throughout time by people at the top of a patriarchal hierarchy who use them to justify their position of control. And too many people settle for that as just the way it is. And so a binary framework that pits good against evil and us against them, tearing us apart instead of building us up together, has become our normal way of thinking and being together in this world. And this is precisely why the spiritual practice of story is so critical to the thriving of life. McGuire's approach to his fantasy novel was to unleash a story that challenges us and turns us towards a new way of thinking and visioning what this world could look like. McGuire's approach was to interrogate our concepts of evil by writing a story about the life of the so-called wicked witch and the so-called good witch before we meet them in The Wizard of Oz. One BBC article notes that in McGuire's book, we see the reasons why Elphaba, that's what McGuire named the Wicked Witch of the West after L. Frank Baum's initials, Elphaba is considered evil. We see the reason for this is because society perceived her this way and circumstances forced her to act in ways that were deemed villainous. Born with green skin, she is regularly pointed at and laughed at. This prejudice makes her feel so much like an outcast that she ostracizes herself from other people. After discovering that the country's sentient speaking animals are being locked up, Elphaba approaches Oz and asks him for help. But Oz dismisses her concerns, as he wants the people to unite in the belief that the talking animals are their common enemy. Elphaba goes into hiding and joins an underground group to try and protect the animals. Oz then uses propaganda to tell the rest of the country that Elphaba is evil, even though she's fighting for justice and to protect the vulnerable. She then reacts with rightful rage against the death of her sister and of Glinda giving her family's shoes away to Dorothy. The Wicked Witch is thus recreated in McGuire's retelling as not evil, but as the victim of harsh societal judgment because of her green skin color. She faces further oppression by the powerful Oz because, in fact, as it turns out, Elphaba herself is incredibly magical and powerful, and she makes the choice to restory her life by refusing to be a victim and to help others not be oppressed and victimized as well. As we get to know Elphaba, we find that her story problematizes our black and white thinking, especially as it pertains to good and evil. Will we ever watch The Wizard of Oz with the same frame of mind again? I hope not. I hope we can watch it and let go of our culturally enforced binary of good versus evil, embracing the actual complexity of life and remembering to be curious about what we don't know. This is how we use the power of stories to shift our perspectives and help us navigate the real world as agents of change for good. Let us remember that the practice of story is to think twice before labeling others as evil, or even good, because the practice of story calls us to be curious about the whole story. As it turns out, Glinda the Good Witch is not exactly as she might seem either. The complexity of our humanness is revealed in McGuire's characters. Our curiosity is enlivened, and we are encouraged to dig into the root causes, the beginning of the story. We are encouraged to discover the stories behind and beneath a person's, including our own selves, actions or state of mental health. We can be the detectives of a story and reveal systemic injustices. We can stop telling stories that proclaim we are either all good or all bad, and instead story the fact that we are, as our value of pluralism calls us to celebrate, all sacred beings. Perhaps McGuire's story will help us break down the hierarchies that continue to divide us and to assist us as we learn how to co-create with the stories of understanding and humility, mercy, and hope. Through stories, we can create who we are and who we want to be. The truth about stories is that that's all we are, declares Thomas King. So on this day and this here and now, what are the stories that compose our lives, your life? And how do they shape the world? How do we expand our vision so that they shape it towards harmony? McGuire himself stated that the best summation he's ever read regarding evil was written by Graham Greene in his novel, The Power and the Glory. Greene wrote that most evil is simply a failure of imagination. Greene was writing about how fascism arises because people can't imagine what it's like to be somebody else. How imaginative are our stories so that they reflect an understanding of life? How empathetic are the stories we tell? Do our stories allow the light and dark to intertwine, like in the ways that create unusual yet life-filled wild ecosystems? The possibilities for life and love and connection are ours to create. And so we will take a moment to practice story. We'll enter into a sort of meditative visualization so that you can maybe write that first line of your new story. Living love through the practice of story calls us to partner with something bigger than ourselves. We can recognize old stories as valuable, as the ground from which we begin, but how do we partner our imaginations with the creating force that the old stories have set into motion? The creating force will always be shaping our world, so let us not be apathetic, for that's how the forces that lack imagination take control. Instead, visualize yourself entering the flow of this universal energy as agents of change for good. As far as we can tell by examining the ongoing processes of evolution that create immense diversity, this universe seeks novelty as a way to move forward towards an ever-intensifying harmony. How do we respect 4 billion years of change on Mother Earth and create with her? What part of this sacred universe do you identify with? Is it God, Goddess, Allah, or Adonai? Is it the spirit of life and love? Is it the wisdom of prophetic people or the never-ending and never-complete process of biological evolution birthed by our Mother Earth? What is it that you hold as the ultimate? What are the qualities that you share with it? What traits do you have in common with that which you hold sacred, as well as the frogs and the birds and the stars and other human beings? And how will you partner with your vision of the ultimate to create a song a song of earth and sky, to give a voice to the mystery and write a story of beauty. Giving you the opportunity to write the first line of your story now. You can write it on the cards that were given to you. You can put it on your phone notepad. Just one line of your story and your vision and how you will co-create the future and be an agent of change. We'll take just a minute of silence, and then Isaiah will bless us with a beautiful song. Canadian singer Katie Lang said of that song that Leonard Cohen wrote that it's about the struggle between having human desire and searching for spiritual wisdom. It's being caught between those two places. And isn't that where the stories of our lives begin? Thank you for taking the time to write the first line of our new story. As a faith community, we are here to continue writing the story of the struggles and the joys of being human and how we connect ourselves to one another on our search for spiritual wisdom. At the root of the word religion is the meaning to bind together. As UUs, we are bound together by our shared values and the covenants we make to each other to uphold those values in the ways we move through the world. Let us keep writing our stories, bringing those covenants alive. Our stories are a part of this world, and in these times they are vital to our salvation, saving ourselves from despair and self-righteousness, and bringing back humility, curiosity, mercy, and hope. Today we welcome new members to our congregation, but so much more than that, we welcomed new folks as co-authors of this story that is ours together.
Today's closing words are from Naming the Largest Truth by Reverend Vanessa Sauter. May the stories we tell name the largest truths of what was, of what it is, and pull us forward to what should be, as stories were always meant to. Let us sing it into being together now with hymn number 1064 in the Blue Book, Blue Boat Home. Teal Book, sorry.
Standing on these mountains and
Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. Tom, please. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of commitment. These we carry our hearts and out into the world.
Go out into the world now and let's begin to write our stories of beauty together. And please, join us in the social hall for lots of food. And remember that you are loved,
Love,
you are worthy,
lucky, you are a blessing.